Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Abby with Fitness is Medicine, and today I'm going to give you a workout you can do with one set of dumbbells. Probably a pretty light set, 2 or 3 pounds. And if you need to, you can go up from there. You could try 5 pounds if you're finding that it's a little bit too easy. But just one set of dumbbells. We're going to be up and down off the floor a few times, working on that floor to stand. And then we're going to work a large variety of your upper body muscles while incorporating some lower body and core as well. So let's get started. We're going to start, remember to always start with a warm-up before you come into these workouts, but we're going to do an exercise where you march to the side. So this is a slow and controlled movement where you march to the side and you bring your elbow to that knee. So it's a little bit of a side crunch. We're going to alternate sides. We're going to go 10 on each side. So that was 3. Nice and slow and controlled. So we're getting a little bit of balance here. We're getting some good single leg stance. So we're getting some glute activation and some oblique activation by bringing those arms and elbows and knees together. Work on doing it nice and slow and controlled. Really bring that knee out to the side and really think about that crunch down to that knee. Nice and slow. If you're finding that this is really challenging, you can do it next to a counter or something so that you can kind of, take turns with the opposite hand hanging on if you really need to, but challenge that balance if you can. Really work on standing nice and tall on that one hip that is supporting you. And we're going to do one more on each side. And then we're going to lower to the ground with our dumbbells. Okay, so grab a set of dumbbells. I'm using 5s today. But like I said, start with a lighter weight and then move up if you feel like you need it. But I'd rather have you start with a lighter weight. Okay, so this one we're going to do, we're going to start on your back, arms straight overhead. And I want you to keep your arms straight, lower them to the ground overhead. And then we're going to do a chest press. So it's a combination move. Lat pull, chest press. Okay, now if this feels okay and your back is good, try coming up into a bridge. And we're going to do that same thing, lat pull, chest press. And all you're really thinking about is pressing those hips to the ceiling, keeping your weight in your heels here, taking that weight overhead, and then a good chest press. We're going to do this 10 times. If you need to, you can come down and release those hamstrings and glutes every now and then, or just lower down into doing this on your back if you're feeling like it's a little bit much, if you're having any back pain, or if you're getting a hamstring cramp or something. All right, come up back up into that bridge if you're able to. Hold it the whole time if you are able to. We're working a little bit of extra core and lower extremity this way. We're getting some glute and hamstring activation. And the more muscle groups you work at once, the more your heart rate is going to stay elevated. Okay, great. Now we're going to come back up onto our feet. And we're going to do a squat, a good deep, sometimes they're called a plie squat, or sometimes they're called a sumo squat. So in order to do that, you want to turn your toes kind of toward the corners of the room, feet nice and wide apart, and we're going to hold our dumbbells right here in front of our body, right at our shoulder level. Do as deep a squat as you can, and then come up into a shoulder press. So bring that right here under your chin, a nice deep squat, press overhead. When you're doing these, keep those shoulders down away from your ears. So we don't want to be up here, we want to be here. Nice and slow, controlled. Remember, the more muscle groups we work at once, I like to do a lot of combination exercises. The more our heart is having to work, the more our core has to work in order to keep all of this together and activated and controlled. Squeezing those glutes as you come up out of that squat. What I like about the plie squat or the sumo squat is sometimes it's a lot easier on your knees if you do have knee pain. So if you have trouble going into this deep squat, just try it here. You can do a little one. Just make sure you're sitting your hips back and keeping your knees over your ankles. Let's do one more. And over. Okay, we're gonna go back down to the floor. Oh wait, not yet. We're gonna stay standing. So hang on to those dumbbells. You can just use the same set for the whole time. We're gonna do a step back and reverse fly. So I'm gonna turn to the side so you can see. Step back, reverse fly. Come back up all the way tall each time. Step back, reverse fly. So we're gonna alternate feet. I didn't there. Step back, reverse fly. Going into that step back helps protect your low back in this reverse fly. Now, if you're able to do this step back and reverse fly with good balance, no back pain, let's try it into a tip over. So tip over, reverse fly. So you want to bring that leg straight behind you and go into that reverse fly. So this is going to activate your hamstrings and your glutes just a little bit more, working on that posterior chain, working on some balance. Remember, you want to come up tall in between each one. Remember, if this is too much, you can do that step back, reverse fly. And that's still going to challenge your balance because you have that long, wide stance. But if you can, try that leg lift, sort of that tip over and reverse fly. Let's do one more on each side. Stand up nice and tall in between each one. Oops, I lost my balance on the last one. Okay, great. All right, now we're gonna go lower to the floor. Same set of dumbbells. And I'm gonna have you on your back like we did the first one with the bridge hold, but I just want you on your back. We're going to do a chest fly, so put your arms all the way up to the sides, and then a triceps extension. So be sure to be careful here not to hit your head. When you go into that triceps extension, your arms should be straight overhead, and then you just bend your elbows. Nice and slow. The more slowly you go with these, the more muscle activation it requires, making those muscles having to work harder. None of these are fast ones. Okay, if these are feeling okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of a crunch here. So see how it feels. If this is challenging enough, just stay here. But if you can, we're gonna do a little bit of a crunch as we come up into that chest fly and then triceps overhead. So a little bit of a crunch, triceps extension. A little bit of a crunch, triceps extension. If that feels like way too much, just hang on here. We're working the triceps and the chest all at once here. Many times when we add that crunch, it can really bother people's necks, so we'll steer clear of that if that is just too much for right now. But if you want to try it, crunch, triceps. Okay, one more. Stand up with those same weights. So make sure you're standing up safely each time. And we're going to do a little bit of a twist, push-pull. So it's going to kind of look like we're punching, but it's not a punch. It's not a fast movement. So you want to start with your feet nice and wide apart. We're going to turn to one side and reach out with that dumbbell and then pull back. So it's more like if you think you're pulling a tube, from across, pull back. So reach and then pull back. Reach, pull back. This is a really good shoulder girdle, rotator cuff, upper back. We're getting a lot of posterior chain in today. So if you were to think about punching and you turn those hips, reach out with that dumbbell, pull back. Turn, reach, pull back. Reach, pull back. We're turning our hips towards the opposite wall of the room each time. So our whole body is having to turn. And I kind of go up on that. My back toe will be going up for that turn. So my hips are getting a good turn. Pull back, reach, pull back. Let's do one more on each side. Okay, I'm gonna go through those with you again. Let's refresh my screen here. And so we're gonna start with our hands up. Remember, we're gonna do those side knee marches. So with really slow and controlled. Crunching towards that knee with that elbow. Working on that balance. Working on that hip strength. That supporting leg is having to work hard so you don't dip out into it like that. Remember, you want to stay strong. Pull up that knee, reach it towards your elbow. Think about you're pulling something down. The more you envision that, you're pulling their knee and your elbow together, really working those side abs, your obliques. Working on that hip strength. Your arms are probably getting a little tired now after everything we did in the first set. Think about those ballerina arms. You know, they always have such beautiful arms. Being able to hold them out for so long. Okay, we're gonna do one more on each side. All right, now we're gonna lower down to the floor with those weights. Now, this is the time, if you feel like you had too much on the first set or not enough on the first set, grab a different set. Okay, remember, we're gonna do lat pull into chest press. And if you're able to, go up into that bridge, lat pull, chest press. Pressing those hips towards the ceiling. Tubby's helping me out again today. Lat pull, chest press. Remember to keep breathing. Keep those shoulders away from your ears and keep breathing. Take a deep breath, push it out. Never hold your breath with all of these resistance exercises. They can make your blood pressure go higher, and we don't want any of that. Keep breathing and forcing that air out, getting rid of that used carbon dioxide, allowing for more oxygen space in those lungs. I have no idea how many we have done. I keep losing track. We'll make this the last one. Push those hips towards the ceiling. Feel the burn in your glutes and your hamstrings. And come down. Okay. Stand up with those weights. And we're going to do that plie or sumo squat into a shoulder press. So get those toes pointed towards the outer corners of the room. Nice wide stance. Start with the dumbbells here, right under your chin. Nice deep squat, press overhead. Remember, if this is too much, you can just do a little squat press, but just really think about sitting your hips back and protecting those knees. The stronger we make all those muscles in our legs, the more our knees are protected. We want strong glutes and hamstrings and quadriceps and all the other ones in order to protect those joints. Motion is lotion, they say. So getting that lubrication into our joints can really help any arthritic pain and help give you that stability that you need throughout your day. Let's do 4 more. I don't know how many we've done. Press overhead. Bring it under the chin. Remember to keep breathing. Keep those shoulders away from your ears. Last one here. All right, good. Now we're going to do that step back reverse fly. Squeeze those shoulder blades together when you step back. Make sure you're not bringing it up here. We don't want, your shoulders need to stay away from your ears. If you're able to do that step back, try a tip over, reverse fly. Really work that posterior chain. You're working that back all the way from the shoulders all the way to your low back. That being said, if you're having any low back pain with this, just do that step back. That'll protect your low back more. Really good. Remember, you're coming up tall each time. This is working your glutes and your hamstrings in addition to your shoulders and your postural muscles and your back. Tubby just can't decide where he wants to be today. So your entire posterior chain is firing here, keeping you balanced and upright. Those hamstrings, your calves, your balance muscles in your feet, all up and down. Lost my balance on that one. Let's do one more on each side. Reverse fly. And reverse fly. Okay, great. Now we're going to lower back down onto our back for the chest fly and triceps extension. So, knees bent, back pressed into the floor, especially if you're having any back pain from that last one that we did. This is a really restorative position to go into. And then skip the abs crunch. We'll just do the chest fly, triceps extension. Remember on this one, you want your elbows to bend on this one. For the lat pull, we did it straight, right? So this one, we want your elbows to bend to get those triceps, the backs of your arms. They straighten your elbows. Chest fly, triceps extension. Keep breathing all the way through this. Press that back into the floor, and that gives you a little more stability throughout this whole thing. So if you are here and your back arches, it can be a little bit painful on your back. So here you want to really think about pressing that back into the floor, giving your body that stability that it needs. Let's do 2 more of these. Chest fly, nice and slow. If you do have shoulder pain with these, I should have mentioned this earlier. Just you can keep your elbows a little more bent, but then you also lose a bit of range of motion because we are on the floor. But keeping your elbows bent or using a lighter weight will help. And triceps extension. Okay, for the last one, we're going to stand back up with these weights. Nice wide stance. We're going to do that push-pull. So it's like a punch, but it's not. You're not doing anything fast here. You never want to do any fast movements with weights in the end of your hand. Sometimes we do, some punches with water. But here we're going to push out straight and pull back. So turn to the side of the room, push, pull. Push, pull. Not a fast movement here. Push, pull. Keeping that back and abs nice and tight. We're going to do 10 on each side. I think that's 3. Push, pull. Keep those abs nice and tight the whole time. Protecting that back. Push, pull. Really think about pulling back, squeezing that shoulder blade as you come back, using the rear part of your shoulder, pulling back. Push, pull, keep those shoulders down away from your ears. Keep breathing. Keep your eyes like right across the room, right across the opposite wall as you turn. Keep those eyes pointed at that wall. Keeping your posture nice and tall. Let's do 1 more on each side. And that's it. Okay, great job, everybody. That was a pretty intense one. But like I said, figure out what weights work for you. It's nice when you can just kind of use the same set for the whole workout. But you know, depending on what exercise it is and if you have any pain in your shoulder or whatever, you can grab a lighter set or a heavier set for, you know, a couple of them. But the combination generally allows for that lighter set to be effective. Okay, so don't forget to stretch now, or pause it and do it one more time through if you're feeling like you have the time and the energy. That's really good. Extend that workout, keep that heart rate going, and then at the very end, don't forget your stretches and even do a little walk to cool down. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Have a great week, everyone.